First off, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know if your house is anything like mine, it's a very busy time at night, running kids everywhere and still trying to make it here. We appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your night to be here. We're going to try to be efficient, give you a lot of information, and if you get home and you think, oh, I should ask this question, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Cooper, Mr. Weber, and myself are always available via email or a phone call or set up an appointment and come in and chat with us. But we do appreciate you being here. We want to give you a little overview of what's to come next year. I know it's kind of crazy to start thinking about 8th grade when we're just getting started in the second semester of 7th grade. But Mr. Johnson will share with you in a little bit. He's been in classrooms talking about next year, talking about class selection, and we've sent out some information with our grades at semester about things to come, so we figure this is the best time to really start thinking about where we're going and answer any questions you might have. Come on in, it's fine, come on in. Well, let's go. All right, so first off, just give you a little bit background, and since you've been here for a semester, you know, we're going to get back in touch with kids in regards to our 3 cornerstones. You see them posted everywhere in our building. These are things that are very important to us. And a lot of our conversations with students are wrapped and framed around these 3 things. We want kids to do their best. We want them to do the right thing and treat others the way you want to be treated. And that's in a variety of settings. The other day I stopped us all eating in the cafeteria to talk about respecting our property and being proud of the school we attend. Sometimes we start to take for granted how clean we want the place to be, and we all play a role in that. And so, you know, we take moments and try to reinforce what we think is important, and hopefully goes right in line with the conversations you guys are having at home. I know with my children, you know, do your best at cleaning your room, cleaning up after yourself. We also do those conversations one-on-one sometimes, maybe when we aren't making the best decisions or how we treat one another. But these are 3 things that we constantly are emphasizing and reinforcing throughout the day, throughout classes, and throughout the year. All right, so the registration process, and you're going to find that we use the word registration maybe a little bit too much, maybe more than we should. Mr. Johnson was in classrooms the last end of last week, beginning of this week, in science class, talking to all 7th graders about class selection. And they should have brought home a form that he'll show and talk about in a little bit, talking about what classes that are offered next year, starting to look at maybe some of the electives that they have options of taking, and then obviously looking at the 4 core. Like I said, that packet should have came home. We want that back. February 12th, they bring it back to their Tiger Time teacher, and then he'll go through and make sure he's got everybody's, and if he doesn't, then he'll probably be in contact with either you or your child, wanting to make sure we get all the information we possibly can. Part of that is for making sure we have the numbers for course offerings, and more importantly, so we can build sections. But we also want to make sure we get your child in the courses they've chosen and can pursue whatever avenue they pursue or choose to pursue in 8th grade. So our schedule, you know, obviously a year ago is probably, what is all this transition? How is it going to work? As my son is getting closer and closer to junior high, I start to see how transitions can be a little bit overwhelming. But I'd like to think at this point everybody's pretty comfortable with the idea of moving from period to period. Not a lot of changes. We're still looking at a couple of tweaks, but we'll still have 7 periods next year. And our day is going to be pretty consistent from the year we're in right now. So I'm going to give the mic up to Mr. Johnson, who's going to go over all course offerings, what are the requirements of classes, and then an overview of some of our electives. Then Mrs. Cooper is going to get into some of our special support classes and some advanced class discussion. and then Mr. Weber will end it with activities. Towards the end of our presentation, we'll have 4 core teachers show up, and they'll talk a little bit about the difference between advanced classes and then our other classes. And then that'll be the night. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we'll be here at the end to answer any questions as well. So, Mr. Johnson is right here to show you through 8th grade.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. I'm Mr. Johnson. I'm one of the counselors here, and as Mr. Boyle stated, I was in all of your students' science classrooms the last, beginning of this week and last week as well, and just spent the whole period really talking about this, and wanted to get into every science class because I wanted them the opportunity to really be able to ask questions, and we got a lot of really good questions from them. And but I know that there's still some that are probably kind of lingering after we talked. And the main thing is I wanted to identify what their options are for next year, and if next year is going to look like, how it's similar to what they're seeing this year, and how it's going to be different once they with different opportunities and stuff like that. And so we're just really trying to get them prepared and get them started to think about, hey, this is what I want to do, and these are my interests, and this is how I want to pursue those. So I'm going to go through some of the classes here and give a little bit of background on what's kind of involved with those classes, and then go into how this sheet or this packet works. Hopefully all of you have seen this at home. Your students should have received this when I came in there, unless they were absent that day, but I think there's only 1 or 2 students that have not received this of all the students that have it. So they should have it in their possession. If you haven't seen it, please ask them about it, because it is due a week from tomorrow. But we want to give you plenty of opportunity to talk about it and discuss different things. So the first thing I want to talk about is the required classes. Nothing new there. 4 core classes that were offered in 7th grade are going to be offered in 8th grade as required classes. We've got our English, Math, Science, and Social Studies. And we're going to talk a little bit later about the advanced opportunities for those. But all students are going to be taking all 4 of these courses somewhere throughout their study or throughout their schedule. Now, sometimes what people kind of get confused about with our registration form is they think that it's going to go in order of that through their schedule. We just listed in there just to let you know that those are the classes that are required to know what options you have. Those 4 classes are going to meet obviously every day and for a full period. And then we have also PE, or physical education, which will meet every other day, and which will give another option for an elective, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But with English, mainly continuing on with a lot of things they're doing in 7th grade. They're working on a lot of thematic reading and writing, and also starting some speaking and stuff like that. We're just getting into a little bit more advanced areas of those qualities there. Kind of progressing on that, but a big part of it is again developing that reading and writing skills. The math classes, we still have the 3 levels of math. We have the integrated math, which is focusing on developing those skills with the math level, but still focusing on them advancing with the pre-algebra skills, but at a pace that they're comfortable with. And then the ones that are in Math 7 right now will be going on to pre-algebra, which is what our advanced math is for 7th grade right now. The pre-algebra is just working on a lot of those math skills, starting kind of getting into the algebraic expressions, also into some geometry, different things like that. And then our advanced math is into algebra, and we'll have one of our core teachers kind of explain a little bit more what's all involved there. But we do have those options there, and ultimately they move on to whatever level they were in. This year will then move on to that next level, unless there was special testing or other considerations available with that. But we need discussions. We'll usually have discussions with you before any level move is made with math. Science, in science, 7th grade they focus a lot on life science. As they get into 8th grade, they're more focused on chemistry, physical science, and earth science. And then they also have a unit on human science as well, which is kind of the health unit that we have for our junior high students. So they hit that component. And then social studies is largely focused on early American history, about from the 1500s all the way up to the Reconstruction, so late 1800s, and they cover a large part of a large part of it is the Revolutionary War, and then getting into the Civil War as well. Then all these classes again are meeting all year long, every day, and then we have physical education, which again, as you know, notice this year, if your student has talked about, we will have a mix of 7th and 8th grade in the PE sections, and obviously that class will be alternating another class, and that's what we'll talk about here in a second. So this is kind of a picture of what this form looks like on the front. So it has the 4 cores on there, and then the PE, and then you'll notice next to the PE that we have a space available, and that space available next to the PE is for classes that meet every other day. And so some examples of that might be your music classes, your chorus, your band, your orchestra could fit into that section. If they're in a math resource or reading resource, you may have noticed that was written on their form there. Also, if they're in ELP, might fit in there. And then sometimes their study skills can be, if they're in study skills now, they may be, will fit in that one as well. If your student is in the special education program, I strongly recommend that you talk with their current resource teacher right now, just to see how everything fits there, to know what their options are. There's still plenty of options for all students as far as electives, but just to know, okay, these spots are here for what we want the support for our student to have, and then these are the things that they can choose from. Because sometimes a student will choose a lot of the electives and then find out, oh, I'm also going to be in this other class and they weren't expecting it, and that's a hard discussion to have when they have to start giving up electives. So please talk to any of your support teachers, as Ms. Cooper is going to talk about here in a little bit. If your student's involved in any of those support classes, just see how that fits with their schedule. But